iHeart, or Odyssey.com. This is 9:30 a.m. The Answer. Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Be seated. It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. And now it's time for you to discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. Is your financial advisor selling you in investments, insurance, and annuities that are in your best interest or that pay the highest commissions for the advisor? Do you clearly understand your out-of-pocket costs for doctor visits, medical procedures, and medicine? We'll be addressing these questions today. Steve Warren, president of Financial Planning HQ, our newest sponsor, is joining us again for the Financial Focus. Steve, welcome to the show.
Super fantastic. Glad to be back.
Can you tell us again about your company, Financial Planning HQ?
Sure thing. Financial Planning HQ is set up as an independent registered investment advisor in the state of Texas. And we deliver planning, advice, organization, and accountability to our clients for a flat fee. And our company is family owned. So my sons, Joseph and Jacob, are owners of the company as well. And we're all trusted advisors. And by being independent, that means that we're not affiliated with any insurance companies or broker dealers and just ruggedly independent.
Awesome. I love that you're a family business. And
yeah, thanks. It's a blessing.
Okay. So last week we talked about the fiduciary standard of care and how advisors who claim to have the duty of loyalty and give advice that is in the best interest of the client. How do you measure that?
Yeah, that's really a great question. I mean, I really don't have a succinct answer for that, but let's just talk about, have you ever heard the saying, follow the money, Todd?
I have.
And maybe you might discover something if you follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it might be good or bad. And so I would ask all of your listeners this question. Do you know in dollars and cents how much you are paying your current advisor? And usually when I ask that, Todd, I get a sentence or two as a response. And maybe the person will say, well, I think we're paying a percentage of assets that are under management, but I don't know for sure in dollars and cents. Well, tell me more about that. So instead of a definite number, more words come out.
Right.
Because they really don't know.
They try to explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. So not too long ago, my son Jacob, he was working with a client that was actually with another advisor. And so he completed what we call their financial roadmap. And during that discovery type meeting, he found out that in looking at their statement that they were paying around $14,000 a year in fees to the advisor. Roughly 1.4% of about $1 million.
Okay.
So the way we found that out was we did an audit of their statement, and we could, I mean, you can see it there. And that was sort of a shock, but what shocked me even more when I was talking to Jacob about it was that roughly a third of the money was in CDs, and that money was being assessed a fee. So I would say that, you know, that really is getting, I mean, why should you be charged an investment fee on a fixed type of investment.
Right, because you could have it in the bank and not be charged that fee.
Sure, absolutely. Right. And I mean, you might get 3% interest, but you're not going to be subject to that fee. So there must have been something going on with the client that maybe they were parking money in a safe place and they were intended to deploy it later, but it shouldn't have been exposed to that fee. And it clearly was.
Mm-hmm.
And if you add that $14,000 up, Todd, for 10 years, that's $140,000. And then what about the interest that could have earned had it stayed in the account?
Right.
And so maybe following the money is a good, measuring tool for, is my advisor really truly a fiduciary, by finding out how much am I paying them and what am I getting in return for that?
Yeah, that's a good measurement tool.
Sure.
So, how does your team give advice that's always in the client's best interest?
When we meet with a potential client, we facilitate a remarkable experience in which we help the client crystallize their overarching strategy. So we discover the things that are important to them, the goals that they have that require money and planning to achieve, including the name of the goal, by when do you want to achieve it, and how much money does it take to achieve the goal, and what are 2 or 3 words to describe what you're thinking and feeling once you've achieved the goal. So this document, oh, by the way, I missed one thing, a benchmarking of their current financial reality. So that way they know where
Right.
they're at currently. So this document it's rather large. It's not a, paper like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's 17 by 22 inches. It's called the financial roadmap document. And to a large degree, that becomes the client's overarching strategy. And the way we make sure that the advice that we're giving them is in their best interest is that it's real simple, Todd. All of our advice is aligned with their overarching strategy. Then we will shield the client and insulate the client from subject matter experts that touch their lives that could give advice that is not in alignment with their overarching strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, most people, they work with their subject matter experts in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
So they work with an attorney, they work with a lot of insurance people, they have a wealth advisor, maybe they have a financial planner. And the advice that all of these subject matter experts give is it's always in a vacuum. So nobody coordinates the advice.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody steps up to be financial CEO to make sure that all advice given is in alignment with their overarching strategy. And that's what we do.
You're the financial CEO.
Yes. And so if we line up, I do have a personality, let's just call it an ideal client profile, right? So if we line up and I feel there'll be good clients and the value we can deliver is going to be great for them, if I make an offer, I step in as their financial CEO. And in that role, I really provide oversight and just make sure that all these subject matter experts are giving advice that is in the client's best interest and in alignment with their overarching strategy.
Okay. As the financial CEO, can you work with their current advisors?
Absolutely, we can. So the client always has other advisors that they're working with. Most of them do. And we can work with them. I would mention, though, and tell your audience as well, that we have very, very high standards. And so if there's a weak or inefficient subject matter expert, we've got a deep bench, Todd. So we can replace a weak subject matter expert with one that we can coordinate well with, and that's better for the client. So we got a deep bench with regards to that. But the answer to your question is yes, we can work with the client's current advisors.
Okay, great. I know some people really love their advisors, and of course, you have to get along with them too.
Indeed, yes, and most of them, you'd be surprised, they coordinate well with us. Some of them don't, but most of them do.
So last week you talked about a book that you go over with your clients. Tell us about that.
Sure, absolutely. So the book that Todd is mentioning, the general theme of that book is the art of creating an inspiring financial strategy. So it's not a boring book, and it's not technical. And if anybody in your audience would like to have one, then I can send one out along with a 20-minute phone consultation to connect the key concepts in the book to the things that matter most to your audience. And so if you'd like to receive one, then call me. My name is Steve Warren, and my number is 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. Or if I can provide any clarity on the content that you heard today, feel free to call me as well.
Great. Thank you for joining us today for the Financial Focus. We'll see you again next week.
Absolutely.
And we got to take a break, but when we come back, we'll be talking about Medicare with John Moore. Stay tuned. What if you couldn't speak for yourself? A power of attorney ensures someone you trust can act on your behalf. I'm attorney Todd Marquardt. Let's put your plan in place now. Schedule your free consultation at marquardtlawfirm.com or call 210-530-4278. That's 210-530-4278. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, talking about Medicare today. We just finished talking about the financial focus and the financial fiduciary standard of care, but now we're going to switch gears and talk to John Moore about Medicare, because I think this is a hidden issue blind spot where people don't know what their out-of-pocket costs are going to be. But we're also going to talk about scams, Medicare scams, how to avoid them, what to do if you're the victim of a scam, and we'll talk about legacy. But first, I want to introduce you to John Moore with Moore Wealth Management. He's a financial planner, and he's also a Medicare agent. And you have a family here in town. Can you tell us something about the family? What do you do for fun?
So I spend a lot of time with my children and family. So my daughter is a high school cheerleader. So we go to a lot of football games to watch her cheer and go to competitions during competition season, things like that. And then my oldest daughter is up at Texas A&M. And so we go up there for a couple games a year to see her as often as we can.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I know that you were in the U.S. Army for 7 years, and you've been doing financial planning since then, and you got into Medicare. What got you interested in Medicare?
So one of my clients turned 65 and asked me if I could help him, and I wasn't prepared to do that or capable of doing that. So I realized that was not a good situation for me and my business, because I like being a resource for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go ahead and get certified in Medicare, and I really enjoy doing the Medicare. I feel like I can help a lot more people, because everybody needs to worry about Medicare when they turn 65. Not everybody necessarily uses a financial advisor or has the resources to use one, but everybody needs a Medicare advisor.
So what does that look like? How can you tell when somebody feels helped?
Oh, I hear it all the time from clients. I've had clients call me and thank me. The biggest indicator, though, is when they refer their family and friends, and they say, hey, you got questions? Call John. He'll answer everything. And I don't look at myself as a salesman. I'm an educator. So most of my job is to educate clients on what Medicare is and how it works, and then show them their options. And then they make the choice based on their situation, what's right.
Can we say a prayer before we start talking about the regulations?
Absolutely.
Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the gifts and blessings that you give to us. Please forgive us for our sins, for our mistakes, for doing the wrong thing and failing to follow your will. Please help John Moore and me give good information about legal blind spots, about Medicare supplements, prescription drug plans, and Medicare Advantage plans today. Help us to use the gifts and talents you have provided for the good of your people, for our own good, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So we talked a little bit about your background, and we're going to be talking about Medicare today. Whether you're enrolled in Medicare Part A or B, or whether you have an Advantage plan or a supplement plan, or whether you have a drug plan, all of these things determine how much a person pays out of pocket, right?
Correct.
So we're going to get to that question. I just want people to stay tuned. But we do need to give some background because people are going to be seeing commercials on TV, hearing them on the radio, seeing social media ads that all say open enrollment. So what exactly does that mean?
So we're currently getting ready to go into annual enrollment period, and that's October 15th to December 7th every year. That's when anybody on Medicare can make changes to their plans and coverage for the following year, for the next year. So whatever they do between October 15th and December 7th is going to start January 1st of next year.
Got it. So you said annual enrollment. So is open enrollment something different?
So there is a time in January, February, and March that is called Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. So people who have a Medicare Advantage plan can also make a change in January, February, or March, one change during that 3-month window.
Okay, so that's different. When somebody turns 65, this is what I know. This is just my ignorance speaking. That's when I think that people sign up for Medicare, but the regulations are probably more complicated than that.
So anyone who is 65 or older and is a U.S. citizen or a legal resident in the United States for at least 5 years is eligible for Medicare.
Okay.
It doesn't mean they're eligible for zero premium things, but they are eligible for Medicare.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who is under 65 that is diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, becomes eligible for Medicare when they're diagnosed. So they can get Medicare earlier than 65. If they are in end-stage renal disease, chronic kidney failure, dialysis, once they've been on dialysis for 4 months, they become eligible for Medicare earlier. And then if they're receiving Social Security disability after 24 months of being eligible for that, they can become eligible for Medicare younger than 65 as well.
Okay. I can't believe you just have all that by memory. That's a lot of exceptions to the rule. So once somebody identifies that they might be eligible, how do they enroll?
So individuals who are turning 65, if they are already receiving Social Security benefits, they will be automatically enrolled in Part A and Part B 4 months before their birth month, sometime in that 4th month before. If they are not receiving Social Security benefits, then to enroll in Medicare Part A and B, they have to submit an application, and we can't do that until the 3rd month before their birth month.
Okay.
And we usually do that through a Social Security website, through the My Social Security account, or they can fill out paper and send that in. I always recommend it's better to do it online because it's a lot more efficient and it's less likely that it'll get lost.
Right. So they don't have to wait until October, November, December. They actually do. If your birthday's in April, then you can enroll 3 months before your birthday.
Starting in January, your window opens. So that's called the initial enrollment period.
Okay.
So the month you turn 65, the 3 months before and the 3 months after, that's when you need to enroll in your Medicare to avoid penalties. Now, if you're still working and you're covered under an employer group health plan, and that employer group health plan has 20 or more employees, then it's considered a large group and it counts as credible coverage for Part B and Part D drugs.
Okay.
So you can defer your Medicare if you're still working and you're covered under a large employer group.
Okay.
But if not, then you want to get it during your initial enrollment period because you'll start accruing penalties if you don't.
Right. So that birthday, age 65, is really important.
Yes,
because it
significant birthday.
could affect your financial future after that because of the penalties, right?
Correct. And once the penalties accrue, they are there for the rest of your life.
Okay, so how much does it cost?
Well, that changes every year. So if a person has paid their Medicare taxes for 10 years or 40 credible quarters, so basically what I tell people is if you're eligible for retirement through Social Security, you're going to be eligible for your Medicare Part A at 0 premium.
Okay.
If you don't have those quarters, you can still get Part A, but there's going to be a monthly cost to that, and it's not an insignificant amount. For Part B this year, the standard monthly premium is $185 a month. We don't have final numbers for next year yet from CMS, but the projections are that that's going to go up by a little over 11% to $206.50 per month.
Okay. And so what's the difference between Part A and Part B?
So Part A is your hospitalization coverage. That covers your hospitalization, your home health, your skilled nursing, and your hospice care. Part B is your medical or outpatient services. So that's your doctor's office visits, your surgeons, your ambulance, ER urgent care, labs, and radiology.
And what are the co-payments associated with just original Medicare Part A and Part B?
So Part A has some pretty significant deductible and co-insurance, and it's all based on how long you're in the hospital, how many days. But the deductible is $1,676 this year. We don't know what it's going to be next year. It's probably going to go up, but we don't know.
Okay.
We haven't heard any estimates or seen any numbers on that. For Part B this year, there's a deductible of $257. And that is projected to go up to $288 next year. But that's an annual deductible, so it's not a huge number. But once you meet that deductible with original Part B, Medicare will pay 80% of your charges. You're responsible for the other 20%. And then there's also a thing called Medicare assignment where a doctor can either accept assignment or not. If they don't accept it, then they can charge another 15% on top of that. That's your responsibility.
What does that mean, assignment?
So when doctors choose to accept Medicare, they either accept Medicare assignment or not. If they accept Medicare assignment, it means that they agree to bill the Medicare approved rates for services.
Okay.
If they deny Medicare assignment, then they can charge 115% of Medicare approved rates for services, and that extra 15% falls upon the beneficiary to pay.
Oh, okay. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why would Medicare pay if the physician didn't want to participate?
Well, they still participate in Medicare,
Okay.
but then they have to decide if they're going to accept Medicare assignment or not.
Okay.
So 99% of doctors accept Medicare assignment when they accept Medicare. So it's a
Okay.
very small number relatively that don't accept Medicare assignment. But it's a
Okay.
consideration the clients need to be aware of.
Yeah. We talked about the late enrollment penalties. Can you give any more detail on that?
Sure. For Part B, if you don't enroll when you become eligible and you don't have an exception like working for a large employer, then for every year after 65 that you wait to sign up, you receive a 10% penalty of the standard monthly premium. So this year, $185, it'd be $18.50 for every year you didn't have Part B.
Okay.
And then there's also penalties for Part D drug coverage. And the threshold for that is 63 days. So if you go more than 63 days without that, then you start accruing penalties. And the penalty is 1% of the national average cost of drug plans for every month you didn't have it.
Wow, that sounds complicated.
Yes, it's a complicated computation. I don't tell clients what their late enrollment penalty is going to be exactly because it's of that complexity.
Right.
But I can usually give them a ballpark of it's going to be around this probably.
Okay. So do most people sign up for A, B, and D then?
Yes, we recommend that. Now, if people are if they're veterans and they have TRICARE for life or VA benefits, then those do count as credible coverage for Part D for the drug coverage.
Okay.
So they don't necessarily have to sign up for Part D.
And they can avoid the penalty then.
Correct.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about Medicare with John Moore, Wealth Advisors. John, why don't you tell them how to contact you if they have questions?
So my email address is for Medicare is john.moore@simpleseniorbenefits.org. And my cell phone number, which is what I give to my clients, is 210-621-7842.
Okay, say it again real fast.
210-621-7842. John Moore at simpleseniorbenefits.org.
Okay, great. We're talking about Medicare. When we come back, we'll talk about some potential senior scams, Medicare scams, a lawsuit. So stay tuned.
With Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt on KLUP 9:30 a.m. The Answer, KSLR 630 The Word, and now KNTH 1070 in Houston. Also 103.3 FM in Houston. Also, podcasts everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, and talklawradio.com. This is our third segment. It's the sinners and the saints. John, do you remember that song?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember what decade or what year?
I do not know the year.
It was 1997. That was Meredith Brooks.
Okay.
And I like that song because it goes along with what Martin Luther, the famous theologian from 1517, said. He's the one that nailed his 95 thesis on the church door in Wittenberg, Germany. He said, the saints are sinners too, but they're forgiven and absolved because of what Jesus did for us on the cross. The reason I talk about it on the radio show is just to warn people about what the sinners are doing and to celebrate what the saints are doing. And I don't have a saint this week, but I do have a sinner. There was a court case called United States ex rel Shea versus eHealth, and it's a false claims act. So the allegations are that there was a company providing sales of Advantage plans, or I don't know what kind of plans they were, some type of Medicare plans, and the company was giving kickbacks to agents if they would only sell particular plans, and they were also discriminating against disabled people because they didn't want disabled people on their insurance. So this involved Aetna and Humana and some other companies. And so we know that there's scams out there. Can you tell us what kind of scams you've been hearing about the most, and what can people do?
Well, for beneficiaries out there, one thing I tell all my clients is if you get a phone call from someone and they say they're calling from Medicare and you didn't make an appointment with Medicare, then they're not calling from Medicare. So
that's a lie.
Yes. Yes. Medicare does not make unsolicited outbound calls.
Okay.
So another thing I tell my clients is if someone calls you, don't ever give your Medicare ID number, your member ID number from your red, white, and blue Medicare card over the phone to someone that you don't know and that you didn't initiate the contact with. Because with that information and a little bit of other information that's pretty easy to find, an unscrupulous agent could change your plan without your knowledge, and that can cause major problems.
Right. What are some of the problems?
Well, I had someone come up to me one day, and he had just been to the pharmacy, and he's like, hey, I can't get my insulin because they say my insurance isn't active. So I asked him some questions, and someone had called him and he had given his information out and they had changed his Medicare plan. He had no clue what Medicare plan he was on, and he was not able to get his insulin that he needed because he didn't have.
It wasn't covered.
Idea. He was covered under something. He just didn't know what it was and didn't have the card to use it.
Oh, I see.
Or know what the coverage was.
Okay. So this is a hidden legal blind spot. You have to know your coverage so you know what's not covered.
Correct.
Right? And I've heard that this is where Part C Medigap plans. Am I using the right terminology here?
You're using the correct terms, yes.
Okay, so tell us, how can people get things covered?
So we covered in the last session about Medicare A and B, and I disclosed that there were some significant expenses if you just have original Medicare A and B. So people have two basic options when it comes to protecting them from all of those, or from most of those. Option one is to use a Medicare supplement and a prescription drug plan. Option two is Medicare Advantage, and they work very differently.
Okay.
So a Medicare supplement, or Medigap is what you called it. It's known by both names. That is hiring an insurance company to protect you from those out-of-pocket costs. And at this point, for most people that are aging into Medicare, the most comprehensive plan that they can get on a Medicare supplement is known as Plan G. So
G as in goat.
G as in goat or golf, yes.
Okay.
So Plan G will pretty much cover them for all of those deductibles, co-payments, things for Part A and B, with the exception of the Part B deductible, which this year is $257, or next year is projected to be $288 for the year. So a Plan G, if Medicare pays for the service, it's approved through Medicare and Medicare pays, the Plan G will cover what the client would be responsible for after they've met that $257 deductible for doctor's visits, surgeons.
But is
like
there
that.
an additional premium for the supplement?
Yes, there is. And so it is based upon which carrier they get it through, which insurance company they get it from, as well as their age when they apply for it and where they live, because it's all based on geographical areas for rates. So that is a plan that is pretty much the most comprehensive coverage you can get. The nice thing about those plans is there's no networks you have to worry about. You can go to any doctor that takes Medicare and they will treat you. Medicare will pay, and then they will pay. So, or pay the difference. So, but there is a monthly cost. That premium will typically go up every year as you get older because costs go up.
Okay.
And then on top of that, they also need to worry about Part D drug coverage, which is known as a prescription drug plan.
Mm-hmm.
And they can pick a prescription drug plan, which will typically have a premium as well that they have to pay on a monthly basis. And then there's deductibles and co-insurance and co-pays for the prescriptions, depending on what drugs they're taking.
Right. So that's a lot of information that you need to talk to your clients about so that they know which plan to pick and which company to go with.
Correct. And with supplements, it doesn't matter what company they get their supplement through. If they get a Plan G, it's going to cover the same requirement. It's required to cover the same thing, regardless of what carrier it is. So when I'm talking about supplements, I tell clients, what's important is it a stable company? Do they have good rate history? Things like that. Do they have a good book of business to make their rates more stable?
Tell us about Advantage plans. How is that different?
So Medicare Advantage plans are known as Part C, as in Charlie, of Medicare. And when a client chooses to go that path, they are selecting an insurance company that is going to take over management of their Part A and B from the government. So the government pays the insurance carrier to manage their Medicare. A lot of those plans will have low or no premium, depending on the area that the client's in and what's available in their area. And for those plans, it's kind of a pay-as-you-go type scenario. So you will have a copay or co-insurance depending on what services you use. So whether you go to your primary care doctor, a specialist, you end up in the hospital, you have to get an MRI, CT scan, things like that.
So that sounds like traditional health insurance.
Yeah, the way I try to describe it to clients is if they're familiar with group insurance through their employer, they're paying a premium out of their check. Then they typically have a deductible. Then they have co-insurance or co-pays, and then they have an out-of-pocket maximum. So with Medicare, it's kind of split into two different paths. You've got your supplement, which has a premium and a deductible. And then on the Medicare Advantage side, you have co-pays, co-insurance, and an out-of-pocket maximum, because they all do have a maximum out-of-pocket for the year. So you have a catastrophic limit.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty complicated. How do people decide whether they want the supplement or the Advantage plan?
Well, a lot of people are kind of flying by themselves, and I don't know how they decide. Usually it's a friend told them this, or they talk to friends that have it, things like that. when I help a client, I want to sit down and I explain to them how both sides work, both paths work. And then I look at their specific situation. So I look at what prescriptions they take, who their doctors are, because some doctors take Medicare Advantage, some don't. So if they have a doctor that they've been with for a long time and they are adamant with staying with that, it may or may not work with a Advantage plan. But I always show all the options to clients because once again, my job is to educate and provide options, not make decisions.
Okay.
So I will show them what all their options are, and then they tell me what path is going to work for them based on this situation.
How long is a typical meeting that you have with a prospect or a client?
If we're starting from the very ground up and I'm going over all the basics of Medicare, it's usually going to take about an hour.
Okay. Well, why don't you let people know how to contact you if they have questions?
So my phone number is 210-621-7842, and my email address is johnmoore@simpleseniorbenefits.org.
In the beginning, God had one law. You know the rest. We have to take a break. We'll be talking more about Medicare. Stay tuned. Are you confident about your financial future? What if you had a clear financial roadmap and a team holding you accountable to make the best financial decisions no matter what? At Financial Planning HQ, Steve and his sons, Joseph and Jacob, have been helping San Antonio families since 1987 with inspiring, intelligent financial strategies. Whether it's achieving or maintaining financial independence, becoming more tax efficient, or building business wealth, we create a comprehensive, written lifetime financial strategy that's uniquely yours, based entirely on what's important to you. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Call Financial Planning HQ today at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. And take the first step towards financial clarity. That's Financial Planning HQ, inspiring financial strategies for San Antonio. Remember, 210-685-2722. What if you couldn't speak for yourself? A power of attorney ensures someone you trust can act on your behalf. I'm attorney Todd Marquardt. Let's put your plan in place now. Schedule your free consultation at marquardtlawfirm.com or call 210-530-4278. That's 210-530-4278. Do it before you die. Are you 100% confident that no matter what happens in the financial markets, economy, or world events, you will achieve your financial goals? If not, we have a process to get your financial house in perfect order and keep it that way forever. Your financial future shouldn't be a guessing game. Planning, advice, organization, and accountability are deliverables you should expect. For over 35 years, Financial Planning HQ has been San Antonio's trusted partner for comprehensive written lifetime financial strategies. Steve and his team, including sons Joseph and Jacob, don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, they create a personalized financial roadmap for you based on what's important to you. As an independent registered investment advisor, they're not tied to any big corporation's products. They work for you, creating inspiring, intelligent financial strategies that put your interests first. Call Financial Planning HQ at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. Today we're talking about Medicare with John Moore. He's with Moore Wealth Advisors. And what was the email address for your Medicare?
It's johnmoore@simpleseniorbenefits.org.
So we're going to talk about your legacy, but then I want to ask you about simpleseniorbenefits.org, okay?
And now it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
John, you know attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. It's all about legacy. So we like to ask you about your legacy. What does that mean to you?
So my children are hopefully my best legacy that I leave behind. I have 2 daughters, and so my wife and I, it was very important for them to know that they have parents that are actively involved. That was one of the nice things about being self-employed when my children were young, is I was able to attend all their events and be a present father, because there's lots of research out there that shows, young ladies that don't have an active father figure, they have a lot more problems throughout their lives and everything. So that was very important for me to be there for them. And I was able to do that. I missed very, very few events, very few games. I was there as much as I could be. So they're hopefully going to be my best legacy, because they're both very confident, very beautiful young ladies. They both are driven. They both have goals that they want to accomplish, and it's important to them. And they know that we're here to support them.
What's a family lesson that you hope they remember?
Let's see. I hope that they always remember that they are valuable in God's eyes, and that they're valuable in our eyes. And no matter what happens, no matter what they do, we're going to love them, and we're going to be there to help them and support them as much as we can. And I hope that they take that and pass that down when they have children, and that their children believe the same things.
That's awesome, John. Thank you for sharing that. That's going to mean a lot to the listeners that are listening right now. So we're going to go back to Medicare.
Okay.
So switch gears. You mentioned Simple Senior something.
Benefits.org.
So how are you affiliated with that email address?
So in the Medicare world, agents are part of we have an upline. So my upline is actually a field marketing organization that's based in Bulverde called River Oak Insurance. And the owner, Louis Kowalski, is the one that recruited me into Medicare. So when my client needed help, I was looking for a resource, and I decided that I was going to be that resource for future clients. So I started looking at where can I get the training I need to be a good advisor for clients and do the right job. And so I selected River Oak because they're local. They are very focused on training. So they trained me on how to do this and worked with me on getting my training. Above them was a group called Barson Insurance, and their brand was simpleseniorbenefits.org.
Okay.
Or Simple Senior Benefits. So they had the email simpleseniorbenefits.org. So when we were under them, I took that email address, and it's just a pain to change. So I keep it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that this helps our listeners understand some of the rules and regulations that agents like you have to abide by to protect them, the consumers. So I want to talk about some of those rules. What are some things that you're not allowed to do, or what are some things that consumers should be wary of when it comes to dealing with agents?
So one of the big rules that Medicare has implemented, and they're changing the rules every year, they've started making them more and more stringent in order to try to protect beneficiaries from the unscrupulous agents and call centers and things like that. So one is, I'm not allowed to cold call. So I can't buy a phone list and just start calling people. That's a violation of CMS rules. We're not allowed to door knock, go up to someone's house and just knock on the door and do that. In order for us to call someone, we have to have permission to contact. And there's a lot of different ways to get that. When I do events, educational events, I'll have permission to contact cards and tell people at the events, I'm not allowed to reach out to you unless you fill one of these out. So if you want me to reach out to you, fill one of those out. Some agents do mailers. So people get a lot of mail. If you get something that asks you to sign it and send it back, you're giving permission to contact at that point.
Okay.
So you're giving them the door, opening the door for them to call you and follow up with you. When we're talking about Medicare, there's a thing called a scope of appointment, and that is a compliance form that ensures that the beneficiary understands that we're talking about their Medicare. We can talk about Medicare supplements, Advantage plans, drug plans, things like that. So we need to get the client to sign one of those. And there's different ways to do it. Nowadays, they can do it electronic signature, even voice signature, or paper. Just depends on what's appropriate for the situation. And that gives us 12 months to talk about Medicare with that client.
Okay.
Or until we do. Once we talk to them about it, it basically voids the scope of appointment going forward.
Okay.
Because we already did it. And if they want to talk again, we have to get another scope of appointment signed, which gives us another 12 months.
I read online one of these Medicare watch out websites was saying, watch out for a situation where your agent is scheduled to meet with you, misses the appointment, and then later shows up at your house uninvited. What's the concern there?
So that is a CMS violation, because when you have permission to contact, you make the appointment, and if you have a scope of appointment signed for it, if you don't keep that appointment, the scope of appointment is still valid, but you need to reschedule the appointment.
Oh, okay.
It needs to be rescheduled. They
You
shouldn't
can't
just show up. Correct.
Okay. Well, these rules are really picky. How do you navigate this Medicare season and make sure that you don't get in trouble?
So I know the rules because I get certified. Every Medicare broker agent has to go through certifications. And part of those certifications are rule change, when they have new rules, what are the rules, things like that. And they don't change huge amounts year to year, but there are some different tweaks that they add. But I believe as an ethical agent, it's my job to know what the rules are and to follow them. So I make sure I do that.
Great. Well, that's super important for people out there that have questions about their Medicare. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked? Anything that you want to clarify or make more emphasis about?
I just want to reemphasize that the people listening should not give their Medicare ID number out over the phone to someone that they don't know.
Okay.
So now if I make an appointment with a client and I am calling into them, they made the appointment, then it's different. But if someone calls out of the blue and says, "Oh, we just need to verify your Medicare ID number," don't do it. It's not a good idea. It opens you up to having all kinds of problems down the road. And one thing we were discussing offline that we didn't cover is what happens if you do get changed and you don't know where you're at. That's where I help my clients with trying to find out what the plan is that they were changed to. And if we get it before it becomes active, we can withdraw that application and they stay on what they were on. And then they don't have that problem. But if it's already started, then we have the problem of figuring out where they're at, which we can do, but they may have to stay in that plan for a month.
Oh, okay.
Longer.
But Medicare probably has a process for fixing things when you've been scammed, right?
Yes, it's just a process that the beneficiary has to be involved in and has to drive.
Oh, okay.
So they have to call Medicare, file a complaint, and go through all that process. So it's not a quick and easy fix. So it's always better to just not give your information out, and that way,
right, guard and protect that Medicare number,
just like your Social Security number.
Okay.
Guard and protect it.
Well, the reason I do this, John, is because in the beginning, God had one law: don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws that impact you without you knowing it. And so, these Medicare programs and these policies, and because you studied it. But there's regular people out there, grandmothers and grandfathers, that are just trying to get through the day, and they have to understand all of this. So if they call you with questions, what number should they call?
210-621 7842. And I do want to say, if I don't answer, leave a message. I will call you back. But if you don't leave a message, I get spam calls like everybody else. So I don't call numbers I don't recognize unless there's a message left.
Okay, terrific. Thank you for joining us today on Talk Law Radio. You can listen on Saturdays, Sundays, on podcasts everywhere, Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have to end the show, John. Thanks. Talk to you later.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.